The Praga PLDvK vzor 53-59 Ještěrka self-propelled anti-aircraft gun, or shortly SPAG, had no extraordinary features even when it was created. Still, it was among the most effective weapon systems during the dissolution of Yugoslavia. Today, we're investigating the vzor 53-59, one of the legends of the Czechoslovakian defense industry. The Praga PLDvK vzor 53-59 Ještěrka takes its name from the abbreviation of Projiletadlový dvojil kanon, anti-aircraft twin cannon in Czech. Vzor means model, which refers to the creation year. The serial production of the 30mm main gun and the SPAG began in 1953 and 1959 respectively. Ještěrka means lizard. Praga is the producer of its carrier vehicle, not the entire SPAG. However, since it is commonly known as the M53-59 Praga abroad, we will continue with this name. Even though Czechoslovakia became a satellite state of the USSR after the Iron Curtain descended across Europe, the deep-rooted Czechoslovakian defense industry was resolute in preserving its independence. So, Czechoslovakia developed its domestic 57mm PLK chess anti-aircraft gun in 1949. This attempt was unsuccessful, and after over 200 pieces were produced, it began to acquire AZP S-60. When the USSR developed the ZSU-57-2, Prague decided to work on a local solution again. The existing PLK chess anti-aircraft guns were mounted on the T-34-85 chassis in different forms. Yet, none of them was successful. During this process, in 1953, the local Česká zbrojovka company had already developed the 30mm PLDvK vzor 53 towed anti-aircraft gun based on the German 3cm Mk303 Flak-Zwilling. 1 year later, Czechoslovakia began to work on a self-propelled variant of this system. Initially, two Second World War vintage vehicles were considered as carrier platforms. One was the PPT-8 half-track, the improved version of the German Schwere Wehrmacht Schlepper artillery tractor. The other was the STI tank destroyer, the designation of the Hadza in the Czechoslovak People's Army. However, after evaluations, Czechoslovakia preferred an armored version of the newly developed Praga V3S 6x6 truck. Two prototypes were tested in 1958. The serial production of the M53-59 began in 1959, and the SPAG entered the Czechoslovak People's Army service in the same year. Praga and Česká zbrojovka produced the carrier vehicle and weapon system respectively. The ZTS Dubnica nad Váhom company was responsible for manufacturing the armored hull and the final assembly. Each of the Czechoslovak People's Army's tank and mechanized rifle regiments had an anti-aircraft battery with 6 vehicles. The total production of the M53-59 was 1,450 pieces. The M53-59 has a well-sloped, all-welded steel armor hull for maximum possible protection from small arms fire and shell splinters within the weight limit available. It has no CBRN system. The open top of the hull makes the gun crew vulnerable to attacks from above. The driver and commander are seated inside the armored cabin. They have a windscreen in front, which is covered in action by an armored cover with a vision slit. These crew members also have a door on each side of the hull, top half of which has a vision slit and hinges downwards on the outside. The commander also has a hemispherical plexiglass cupola on the roof for observation. The driver has no night vision equipment. The engine is at the front. The M53-59 has no central tire pressure regulation system. Still, this 6x6 vehicle has a power-to-weight ratio of 11.57 horsepower per ton, offering a fair cross-country mobility. On the other hand, it has better road performance and lower fuel consumption than an SPAG with a track chassis. The M53-59 is not amphibious. Still, thanks to its low combat weight, it can be carried by a PTS unarmored tracked amphibious vehicle. The armament is at the rear. Thanks to two rams stowed under the rear, the guns can be removed from the SPAG for ground use. The M53-59 lacks radar control and all-weather capabilities. While traveling, two-person loader crew is seated on either side at the back of the cabin facing the rear. Each has a vision slit on each side right behind the side door. At the rear of the crew compartment is a two-piece hatch cover which folds down horizontally to use as a platform for the loaders. The gunner is seated on the left side of the weapon and has frontal, side and rear armor protection. The barrels initially had multi-baffle muzzle brakes. The later guns were with conical flash hiders. Even though the weapon has a depression angle of -10 degrees, due to the height of the crew compartment, this angle is limited to +2 degrees when the guns face forward. Elevation, depression, and traverse are all hydraulic, with manual controls available for emergency use. The gun has two vertical magazines, each holding 50 rounds of ammunition. They are fed via 10-round clips. The fully automatic gas-operated cannons have a cyclic rate of fire of 450 to 500 rounds per minute for each barrel. On the other hand, the practical rate of fire is no more than 150 rounds per minute for each barrel. The vehicle carries 600 to 800 ammunition. The M53-59 can fire 30mm high-explosive incendiary and armor-piercing incendiary rounds. The latter has a muzzle velocity of 1000 meters per second and can penetrate 55mm of conventional steel armor at a range of 500 meters. Even though its effective range is 3000 meters, the gun can send a round to a distance of 9700 meters. The barrels can quickly be changed when they become overheated. According to the International Institute for Strategic Studies Military Balance 2024, all M53-59 users, Czechoslovakia and its successors Czech Republic and Slovakia, Iraq, Libya, and Yugoslavia and its successors Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, and Slovenia retired the vehicle. Even though some sources mention them, Cuba, Egypt, Syria, and Zaire have never been M53-59 operators. It seems that only the M23 rebel group in the Democratic Republic of Congo probably keeps using the SPAAG. The crew of the M53-59 is 5 people, consisting of a commander, a driver, a gunner, and 2 loaders. The SPAAG is 6.92 meters long, 2.35 meters wide, and 2.95 meters high. Its combat weight is 10,300 kilograms. The 110 horsepower Tatra T9 12.2 air-cooled diesel engine provides a maximum speed of 60 kilometers per hour. The range of the vehicle is 500 kilometers. The M53-59 can negotiate 0.46 meter vertical steps and 0.69 meter trenches. It can be fought to a depth of 0.8 meters. The M53-59's twin 30mm 78 caliber cannons have an effective range of 3000 meters. The rate of fire is between 450 to 500 rounds per minute for each barrel. The elevation depression angle of the gun is between -10 and +85 degrees. The turret can be traversed at 360 degrees. During its service time, the SPAAG was subjected to some minor modernizations. The M53-59B was equipped with the VXW100 radio and a new intercom device. The M53-59M was a modernized version with the vzor 6130M sight instead of the vzor 47. The M53-70 was fitted with electronic sights, allowing fighting at night and in difficult weather conditions. Besides, its electrical system was improved. In the mid-1980s, Yugoslavia intended to enhance the combat capability of its M53-59s with a combined laser computer remote control system. Also, the Praga V3S truck would be re-engined by the more powerful FAP-13 diesel. However, this project was cancelled later. In 2019, the local Serbato company unveiled its modernization package with a new, fully armored 4-door cabin with a heater. Yet, the Serbian Armed Forces retired its M53-59 rather than implementing this modernization. Still, we think that the new Serbian Pasar 16 really looks like a modernized M53-59, don't you think? Yet, none of these programs were as exciting as the Praćka RL-2 and RL-4. Developed by the Serbian Weapons and Aircraft Design Institute VTI and Air Force Testing Center VTO to increase the air defense capabilities of the SPAAG, the Praćka was an M53-59 with surface-to-air missiles rather than guns. Even more interestingly, the missiles were converted versions of the R-60 and R-73 air-to-air missiles, whose NATO reporting names are AA-8 Aphid and AA-11 Archer. The RL-2 had two R-60s mounted on an APU-61DB1 pylon developed for the aircraft. The Serbian engineers added the missile a booster based on the locally produced 128mm artillery rockets. The RL-4 used a modified APU-73 underwing pylon and a single R-73. The missile's booster was based on either the locally produced 262mm artillery rockets or the 57mm S-5 unguided air-launched rocket. According to VTI, the RL-2 and RL-4 had maximum ranges of 7.5 and 8.6 kilometers respectively. Since the First Cold War never got hot, the only exciting event of the M53-59 in the Czechoslovak People's Army was that three conscripts tried to escape west with the vehicle without success in 1964. The first known combat records of the M53-59 happened in the Chadian-Libyan conflict of 1978-1987. Then the SPAAG fought in the Iran-Iraq War. No mentionable combat success was recorded during these wars. However, when Tito's dreams collapsed, the M53-59 became a star. During the dissolution of Yugoslavia, it made a name as a dreadful ground fire support vehicle. The SPAAG were highly effective against infantry groups, fortifications, and unarmored and lightly armored vehicles. The distinctive and powerful sound of the 30mm guns boosted the morals of their users while putting fear in their enemies' hearts. Besides, some sources claim the M53-59 shot down the Croatian MiG-21. During the 1999 Kosovo War, this time the SPAAG had to deal with aerial threats more than ever, which was also used in ground fire support missions actively. According to Serbian official data, the M53-59 shot down 2 drones and 12 cruise missiles. It also damaged a US A-10 Thunderbolt II over Kosovo. The Serbian sources claim the M53-59 was much more effective than the locally made and newer BOV-3 in air defense missions. Besides, some unofficial reports suggest that the Serbs used the Praćka RL-4 during the war. The result was unsuccessful. On the other hand, there is no evidence that the RL-2 ever fired its missiles at NATO aircraft. The last known combat record of the M53-59 is that one vehicle was seen with M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo when they entered the city of Goma in 2012. The M53-59 turned swords into plowshares. We can see this SPAAG only in museums and shows. However, the Russian invasion of Ukraine shows us even the oldest weapon systems can find a place in the current conflicts. We hope that no one will wake the legendary M53-59 up from its well-deserved retirement sleep. Thanks for watching our video. And please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of your likes, comments and shares.